Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you guys are. Hello, it's me once again, of course, because I totally hate Sonic, that's why I have an entire channel dedicated to him. So let's talk about Sonic Forces, mainly the brand new gameplay shown for it, and that is Classic Sonic. Of course, Classic Sonic has to be shown, and what is it? It's exactly the same. It's the exact same thing as Sonic Generations. I have no idea where that supposed twist is. So far from the gameplay, it looks pretty much the same as Generations, although even more low budget, honestly. Alright guys, let's take a deeper look into this. Of course we have Classic Sonic once again, this time not in Green Hill Zone. We have Green Hill Zone, but with sand instead of water. Bravo. Bravo, Sega. That's where the originality is at. Come on, guys. Can't you see? Isn't this the most extravagant, most amazing thing you've ever seen? Wow. Green Hill Zone, but with sand instead of water. It's totally not some sort of retexture. No way. I hope you've rewarded your creative team enough, Sega, because clearly they deserve a raise. Like, come on. Green Hill Zone, but with sand instead of water? Wow, that's amazing. The main problem is Green Hill Zone is back. And why? For a game that's a brand new experience, it sure seems to be reusing a lot of assets from the past. Of course, this is Sega playing it way too safe. So, in terms of playing it too safe, of course, one giant red flag is Green Hill Zone, once again, a brand new experience, Azuka stated. The world is in destruction, but of course, there's always 1% of the world that has a green hill that is seemingly unaffected by Eggman. So I'm trying to piece this all together, honestly, guys. I don't want to go on a blind hate rant because I'm trying to think of this in some sort of way that I could understand Sega's mindset during this, but overall I feel like they got no excuses over what I just saw here. Not only is this Green Hill Zone again, but what was that stage design? What was that? Okay, we have 12 seconds of Classic Sonic gameplay. Yes, I know, guys, but what did I just see? Come on, what was that? Okay, guys, I'm gonna sum it up for you. I'm gonna sum up what we just saw in that Classic Sonic gameplay. Linear, 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 linear. It's a straight line. As much as I appreciated Classic Sonic's gameplay in Generations for at least having the establishment of multiple paths and everything like that, what we're getting from this teaser trailer right here is just a straight line. All we see is Sonic running to the right. He hits a spring, he gets a few rings, and keeps running toward the right. And even worse, he has a dash pad right before the very first loop-de-loop that we see. That is another red flag right here. Not only do we see from this gameplay a red spring seemingly come out of nowhere but the ground, but now we have a dash pad just right before you enter a loop-de-loop. What is that? All of this is pointing to Sega just pushing Sonic into this automation kind of phase. Just go, go, go. Like, who cares about level design? Who cares about platforming? No, we just have to have a straight line ahead of you. That's all I'm getting from this. I'm not saying this from the dash pad. I know dash pads have been in Sonic since forever now because, you know, there always has to be a sense of automation. But the fact that there's a red spring that appears out of the ground, out of nowhere, raises a big concern for me because that's exactly how Lost World stages were designed. Where Lost World introduced a brand new parkour gimmick, and while you were supposed to explore and use your abilities to reach certain places, what ended up happening in Lost World? You run up a wall for 3 seconds, only for a red spring to bounce you up, instead of you actually running up the wall yourself or going to that certain location yourself. Of course, there was always a spring to appear out of nowhere to guide you to where you need to go. That is not how you do proper level design, Sega. just when I thought there was a certain degree of hope for it, because, you know, of course, modern Sonic's design, I can totally get it. It's linear gameplay because it's a boost gameplay. It's basically meant for Sonic to go fast. Of course, there may be some occasional platforming sections, but, you know, modern Sonic is known for that speed. But classic Sonic? Classic Sonic, of all things, you're gonna give him dash pads. And not only that, this is gonna be one of the first few stages of the entire game. This is classic Sonic right here. He is not about automation. He is about using momentum-based physics to allow him to do amazing feats. The worst thing they did is put a dash pad in front of the loop-de-loop. What were they thinking? Is Sega forgetting that we have something called a spin dash? Something to help us get automatic speed for whenever we need it? Is Sega forgetting that that is a part of the moveset, or I don't know. Either way, it looks like Sega is taking a lot of inspiration from Dimps, because clearly, dash pads were clearly the way to make proper level design for Sonic. Not allowing momentum-based physics, no, that's crazy. But adding a dash pad to further the automation in Sonic games. Wow, Sega, you've impressed me so much. Let's take one more look at this not Green Hill Zone. What happened to the graphics? Yeah, I know, this game's supposed to be all about that graphics. Ooh, the Hedgehog Engine 2, how great is that? But what happened? It looks so lifeless. It looks so plastic. I don't think I've ever seen Green Hill Zone look this bad before. The sand being part of Green Hill's design does not help. The stage just looks so flat. If you were able to look at Sonic Generation stages for classic Sonic, the stages were 2D, yes, but they never looked as flat as they do in this game. What Generations managed to do is create a 2.5D classic Sonic feel, and where the environments were big and they were all seemingly, there were elements from the background, from the foreground, all of that to make one immersive world, to not make classic Sonic look like he's just in a weird 2D part of the world. But for some reason, Green Hill looks incredibly flat in this. I'm not sure what it is exactly. Maybe it's the lack of foreground elements. Maybe it's the lack of an actual background. It just looks plastic and looks like just one JPEG image behind Sonic. It doesn't look that good. Especially the sand. It looks lifeless. It looks like there's nothing there. It looks like a bunch of clay. It's plastic. It's plastic Green Hill. That's all we're getting here. Overall, it's not that impressive for the first teaser of classic Sonic gameplay. I'd say it's a little disappointing, honestly. Alright guys, let's take a little history lesson about the dash pads real quick. I know I kinda forgot the dash pads for a second here, but I'm gonna talk about the automation in Sonic. Okay, so dash pads were introduced in Sonic 2, Chemical Plant Zone. That's the first time that they were there. Of course, there's always been a little bit of automation in Sonic games. There's always been springs to help you, but that's mainly in Sonic 1 to help you build momentum, just to get through that loop or just to help you through that little half pipe. Springs were there a little bit to just help guide you for a second. Dash pads were there to give you automatic speed in a section where you should be going very fast. And yes, they were there. There was a sense of Sega basically kind of telling you where to go and how to guide you with the use of springs and dash pads. Although classic Sonic did not use springs and dash pads 24/7 to help guide him throughout the entire stage. What we are getting in this gameplay is one spring, one dash pad before a loop-de-loop, and run straight forward. Wow, how impressive, Sega. You've really raised the bar here. Like, look out, Mario Odyssey. Okay, so classic Sonic had some sort of automation, yes, but it never became that apparent until the modern Sonic 3D games. Until Sonic jumped into the third dimension, automation was not really needed in those games. In 3D, it's a little bit harder to know where you're supposed to go. So I can see why in Sonic Adventure there were dash pads and springs to help guide you everywhere, because they needed to at least let you know where you're supposed to be going, at least a general direction. And that's something clearly that a 3D game needs, because you're in 3 dimensions now. You're not going from left to right. You have so many more options and places that you're able to go in a 3D game. So of course, automation became more apparent in modern Sonic 3D games because they needed it. But this is classic Sonic. You're only going left and right. Why do you need so many springs that come out of the ground? Why do you need dash pads before loop-de-loops? We have a spin dash, Sega. It's not like it's gone in this game. So I have no idea what Sega is doing with Sonic Forces. All I'm saying is that this gameplay is a little bit disappointing for our first teaser trailer of classic Sonic gameplay. I hope this is not what the rest of the game is going to be like. I'm just saying it's a little bit disappointing to see that this is the classic Sonic gameplay that we were shown. It's literally move from left to right, it's Green Hill again, springs come out of the ground like Lost World, and there's dash pads. If I didn't know this was being made by Sonic Team, I'd assume Dimps was doing this. Come on, Sega, please don't let this be the full game. Because you had the chance to excite me with classic Sonic gameplay, to prove me wrong. Or at least show that the classic Sonic side was not going to be as linear as the modern Sonic side. But to my surprise, it looks just as bad, or possibly even worse.